or who has been affected by the life. And today we are honored to have a man who has certainly lived a life from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, Mr. Ori Spado.
Hi Larry, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let's start right off with the Accidental Gangster, your book. How did that come about?
Well, I've been an avid reader all my life. It's one thing. I was a bad boy in grade school, and the teacher would put me in the cloakroom because I was a bad boy. But the library was right there. And I can remember one of the first books that I read was Lou Gehrig.
Right.
And I started getting in, reading biography. I loved reading, and I read more than any other kid. And in prison, I read over 300 books. I read every day to this day. I always got a few books on my nightstand. So I never dreamt that I would, but while walking the yard one day at Colombo, it's just, you're thinking, what's free? You're doing time. When you're in prison, you're doing time.
Yep.
I'm walking the yard, and I thought if I ever wrote a book, I'd call it The Accidental Gangster.
Okay.
Because my career actually started out in the legitimate world. Although, as a child, I was out there, I was robbing things, breaking into people's houses, and doing things, but, you really get into the life.
Right. You do have a lot of time in prison, so it's a good place to start. If you're going to write, that's what I did. So, but you say as a young kid, you came from a normal family?
I came from a normal family. My grandfather came over to Calabria. He came over as a made man. My last name was Spada, S-P-A-D-A. But he didn't want that for his kids. My father used to go see the boys from the Calabrian outfit in Pittsfield, Massachusetts years ago. He used to go there frequently. My father was one of the founding members of the Union for Revere Copper and Brass. And my father told me a lot of stories in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, of a job that he had for the boys.
That's where you grew up?
Like that.
That's where you grew
No,
up?
I grew up in Rome, New York.
That's right, I read that. Yes.
I grew up in Rome, New York.
TV. Welcome to the family.
Life progresses and you gives you certain blows you got to overcome. I've always been a hustler, and even in the life, and people don't understand, you got to hustle every day.
That's right.
Got to make a living. What am I going to do today? How am I going to make $1? And not everybody in the life makes money.
No. And you had a stint in the Army too, right?
I did
And
3 years in
if I
the
remember
Army.
right, that's a little bit where you went in a different direction with the checks or something.
No,
explain.
that wasn't the checks. Yeah, I tried muscling on a few whorehouses while I was in the service in Hawaii.
Right.
And then when it got a little hairy, the guys who were supposed to be with me, they chickened out.
Right.
And I was left there by myself. And I think it was the first time I ever had a gun put to my head. But I'm still here.
Yeah. It was a threat to leave them alone?
I was in the middle of a sugar cane field. He put the gun in my head. I told him, you better pull that trigger. I says, but when you do, realize, I says, tomorrow, I says, they're going to find your body in the ocean. And I says, all cut up.
So
And it worked.
that's how you learned the power of
The power of the words.
Yes, I remember you saying that.
And saying that there, and I had no freaking body behind me.
Right.
When the guys heard it, said they put a gun in my head. These other two guys, one was from New Jersey, the other was from New York. They both said, we didn't have nothing to do with this. And I said, yeah, if I got in there and made the money, you're with me, right?
Yeah, of course.
But that's how it goes.
So then after the Army, you came back and...
Came back, I got in the insurance business after a few jobs. I became very successful. And like I said, I was a hustler. And I loved selling insurance. Became a member of the $1 Million Roundtable with the Prudential Insurance Company. Eventually, I got my own agency. And through my own agency, I built it up. I was doing close to $5 million a year with just that one business. I had 3 other businesses, but I was doing $5 million a year. You figure in the 70s with that, it's like $20 million a year today.
Wow.
And that became my first indictment. Out of Syracuse, New York. I got 5 years probation. But through my friend Frank Russo, I was meeting a lot of other people, and Frank, his father, was the boss in upstate New York, and he was telling me stories of how he used to open the garage doors on Saturday, and he said, your grandfather was there every week. So, so I heard a lot of stories from other people about my grandfather. His name was Angelo. And I had a company called Polyglycol. No need to ever sign your car, game guaranteed for 3 years. Was created by a guy named Walter Feisen out of Scarsdale, New York. Great company. And through Walter was getting death threats, and that's how I got to meet Sonny Franchise. And Sonny and I became friends for over 45 years until his death.
For the viewers, Sonny Franchese.
He was the boss of the Colombo family.
When you met him?
No, he was the younger boss.
Okay. But either way, he's a legend in the Colombo family. He just died recently at about 103 years old.
Right.
I thought closer to 50 years, but I heard it was a little over 40.
It was a little over 40. I got all his prison records. I don't know how I ended up with every place he was in and out of.
Well, you kept in touch most of the time he was away. So tell us about Sonny a little bit and your workings with him.
I spent an awful lot of time with Sonny when I was flying in New York. I always had a suite at the Warwick. Sonny would stay with me while I was there, so we were together. We never talked in the hotel room. So I'd wake up in the morning, he'd come, he'd get his cup of coffee. I'd already be up. I'm an early riser. Wish I could stop it. I was about 3:30 this morning. But anyhow, and then he goes, come on, buddy, let's talk. And we go in the hallway to the maid's closet, and that's where he and I would talk.
Wow.
And our talks were there or walking down the street.
Right. So you got with him, did he help you in a beef situation, or did he...
There was a situation with his son Michael. It happened to be his son Michael.
Right.
That took place at the Russian Tea Room. My first sit down of my life. And I learned a lot from that. And it was after that sit down, because I spoke when I should not have, as you know, keep your mouth shut and a sit down. But it was after that, Sonny just liked me. And he grabbed me by the arm around 57th Street in front of the Russian Theater. And he takes me to the corner of Broadway and 57. He said, kid, I like you. He says, you got balls. He said, no matter where you go, you tell people you're with me. And I want you and your family in my home for Christmas.
Wow. And how old were you about this time?
Close to 30, maybe.
A little while ago.
Yeah, a little while ago.
Yeah. So, all right. And so did you... At some point, you started getting into some scams. I remember from the book.
Well, the scams are things that I was creating on my own. And out here in California, you remember, I lived out here. I moved out here. And I was with Jimmy Cacci, who was the younger boss of the Los Angeles family. Now, a lot of people don't know Jimmy Cacci.
Yeah.
He's originally from Buffalo. He and Joe Todaro, who was the boss of Buffalo, grew up together. And that's how I met Joe Todaro. Jimmy was the Sonny Franchise of California. Okay? And, I mean, the things, the headaches I would get. Because, I'd be in a diner with Sonny with him pounding the fucking table. You're with me? Fucking Jimmy Cacci. And I'm out in California, I'm in the car, and Sonny, fuck that Sonny Franchise, you're with me. Here I am with 200 bucks, but me and Jimmy were making a lot of money because Jimmy always had deals that he didn't know how to put together, but I was able to put them together and materialize the money.
You got to be known as the fixer.
Yeah, I got known as a fixer. That began when I was out here in 1971 with Dino De Laurentiis and Ralph Sherpy. Dino's off, everybody knows who Dino De Laurentiis was. He was a big film producer, director, King Kong, all sorts of movies. And I was in their office on Cannon Drive at the time. And they were pulling their hair out because this actor was giving the director a hard time on the set, which happens all the time. And it was causing the film to go behind budget. I said, I'll go talk to the guy, I'll take care of it. They got a little nervous, but then I went over, I went on the set, I grabbed the actor, I took him into his mobile home, sat down, had a few words with him, and he decided he was wrong after I spoke with him, and the movie went on, and the word got out from there.
And it's funny too because you're friendly with Myron Sugarman, who was one of our guests.
I haven't met Myron.
Oh, you haven't met him yet? Okay.
No, I
well, you
haven't
go
met Myron.
the circle.
We
Stevie
were supposed to meet.
Right. Stevie was on the show also, so I know there's a circle there. You
Yeah.
guys stay in touch. But he made a comment, and it reminded me of you. He said, if you have to use muscle, you didn't use your brain.
That's right.
So
Exactly
you were
right.
in that mold. You were much more of a speaker, and you could settle these disputes without having to get rough.
I handled everything without a gun, without a weapon.
And this went on for quite a while, different things. That was the first one.
Did that there, and then I collected multi-millions of dollars throughout the world. I became very good at that there.
Mob TV. Welcome to the family.
Meaning that there was a bunch of heists or something in California that or was it?
Oh, you mean the cable boxes from the LA City jail?
Okay, yeah, tell us that one. That's a good story.
Who's crazy enough to rob a jail? I guess I am. It's those kind of things that got me excited. But we had these guys out of Florida who were very big in the cable business years ago. Where people, they would sell the illegal cable boxes, and then after you have it for 2 or 3 months, you get a knock on your door, you got illegal. Now you've got to subscribe monthly to the service.
Right.
They had a big operation out of Fort Lauderdale. They were great guys. And one of my guys in the who does all the when the cars blow up and all that action type of stuff in movies called me one day and he said the cable they were confiscated at the old LA City jail, which is directly across the LA River from the police academy. So I went down and I checked it out. The guy, we actually changed the locks on the doors for the police, didn't even have a lock. And then I heard about there was a cop, a detective, who was having guys in the gang stealing 3, 4, 5 at a time. But there were a few $1 million worth there. Wow. So I invested some money because you were able to rent the place out for a movie. And I put everything under somebody else's name, of course, had the guys from Florida here, had everything. I had 4 trucks ready to roll. And I told this guy that I had as a producer, you shut this set down at midnight. I mean, we had real live actors. I had a food wagon that you can't believe. Had everything there. It was a real movie set. And I had, while the actors were acting, my guy did all this stuff with the smoke screen, so nobody saw what was happening behind the smoke screen, but my people were getting all the cable boxes ready. At midnight, this producer started drinking. And he started thinking he was filming a real movie. And I'm yelling, I was going crazy. And I had other guys that filtered between me, and I'm yelling at him, they're yelling at that. And he didn't shut the set down till 4. And we had to be out of there by 6. Sun was up, 3 of my trucks left, I had 1 truck.
God.
And that ultimately led to another state indictment. This was the second, this was probably the closest I came to death when I got arrested at a restaurant in Burbank, because it was supposed to be a quiet arrest and the cop was going to kill me. There was no question about it.
Because of what you did in the station.
Because every time I was talking to the informant, I kept mentioning this cop's name, this detective's name. No, we got to do this because the dirty cop's trying to steal. All right, so I'm mentioning his name all the time. And when I walked out of the restaurant that day, and my car was the only one there, and I hear all these cars coming. They were all their private cars. And one car pulls up, grabs me, puts the cuffs up, sits me in the front seat of the car, first of all. Okay? You know what they do. That don't happen. And then you tell the other guys, you know what to do, get rid of the car. And now he's driving away. And he's driving. Now I'm on Burbank. Looking. Then all of a sudden, before you know it, he pulls into Griffith Park. And I says, officer, I says, excuse me, I don't know of any precinct here in Griffith Park. Shut up, you guinea bastard. And now we're on a dirt road in Griffith Park. And he said, do you know who I am? I said, I got no idea who you are. He said, you've been blabbering my name all over the wires. I said, well, you shouldn't have had the guy wired up. One cop at the scene screwed up and put over the radio that we got Ori Spado.
That saved you.
And Sue and Bannister from the LAPD organized crime, which is also known as the Gangster Squad,
Right.
heard it. And they said, you get Spado down to Parker Center right away. And that cop got a call. He threw the phone down on the floor. He said, today's the luckiest day of your life. I was never so happy to be brought to Parker Center and put in jail. Because I was still breathing.
Right. Wow, that's something.
But it's a true story.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember reading that too. Yeah, no, your book was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. And you also give a lot of good advice in your own ways in the book.
Well, there's a lot of positive stuff in my book, which is, the route that I've taken since I've been out is I enjoy helping people and making people's lives a better life.
Right.
I mentor a lot of young men, not going into crime and so forth. I watched briefly this morning the interview with Johnny A-Light, and I see that Johnny's changed his attitude, and I see,
Yes.
he wants to help young men, which I gotta respect that there. And, speaking on that subject, there's a lot of guys like you and I that are out there doing things. There's a lot of positive things that if we all got together, as a unit, we can make this world a better place. Now, I'm the first guy who would never even talk to anybody who was an informant. But now you got to think back. I had a big feud with Michael Franchese.
Right.
Now, Michael and I talked. I buried the hatchet, he buried the hatchet. And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely.
But there's still other people out there trying to build up a YouTube station. And, years ago, when you go back to Luciano Costello and those guys, things were different. You got caught doing something and you got a 10, 15-year bid, you didn't mind going to prison because if you got a 15-year bid, you'd be out in 5 anyways. Okay? But the laws change. And now they give you telephone numbers as a sentence.
Right.
And the life changed. And everybody, look at it. I got a saying, water runs downhill. And for me begins at the top. And they basically, Sonny used to tell me, you got to tell me everything. You got to tell me what that guy's doing, what that guy. I never did. Because I felt if I'm telling him that Larry's doing this, that makes me a rat. So I never even done that.
You're right. And a lot of top mob guys had somebody in their crew that was always keeping an eye out.
Right.
And they were close to being bad already. Right. You can do that. You're right.
So, when you sit back and you look at all the changes, you see some guys, Sammy, yourself, why? You put yourself, I want to tell all these other guys, I see one guy's got no rats allowed. Well, you know what? Okay, I can respect that. But let me ask you a question. Whoever you are behind that there, put the shoes on of the other guy and walk in them.
100% right.
You know, and I like to tell these people, you guys want to do something good? Let's get together.
Yeah, stop
Get together
slandering.
as a unit. Stop slandering everybody. And let's try to get some of the laws, the RICO law, which is illegal and unconstitutional, let's try to change that. Let's try to get the laws so they make sense. Because we're Italian, they made up these rules.
Yeah. All the ethnic groups had problems, and so did we.
Yeah, well, but you got to remember, we're the ethnic group that all the other ethnic groups used to look up to.
Right.
Used to. I use the word used to. They no longer do.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. No, those are powerful words, and people should listen to that. So, talk a little bit about when you went to prison. That's an important thing because it's not easy for anybody. You had a family, you had kids, and that sort of changed you also when you came out.
Well, you know, I'm very big in mindset. Anything you want to do in life is going to begin in your mind. And I knew the day would come that I'm going to be arrested for something. I knew the day had to come. I never dreamed I was going to be on a RICO with the Colombo crime family. But in 1997, an FBI agent said, I will see the day you are chained, shackled, put on Con Air, and brought to Brooklyn. In June of 2008, he made it a reality. I was chained, shackled, arrested right in front of my son, and brought to Brooklyn. But immediately it was a change of mindset. And, you know, one thing, I got to Brooklyn, first Oklahoma. First I was in LA, and I was highly respected there. And I got to Brooklyn, you know, I was with a lot of my friends.
Right.
And they had the Gambino, the Banana, and every family, we were all together there.
Right.
So, you know, we were really respected. So I never had a problem in prison. And I ended up finishing my time at Lompoc. I got very, very lucky at my sentencing because I took a plea deal for 97 months. I ended up getting 62 because when I went for sentencing, the judge gave me...
They call it a downward departure for some reason?
No, he told the U.S. attorney, you charged Mr. Spado twice for the same crime. So on the robbery charge, he gave me 60 days.
Wow.
And he said, Mr. Spado, on the gun charge, it's a minimum mandatory. My hands are tied by Congress. He says, I have to give you the 60 months. The sentence is 62 months. Man, you know what a break that
Well,
was?
that's normally it's a horror story. They try to add on years.
Yeah.
The prosecutor was probably sick to his stomach that you
Oh,
know.
they were yelling and screaming, standing on the desk.
Yeah. They don't realize it's a lot of time. They're not thinking about your kids. Or were you married at the time?
No.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing. I mean,
No,
in that
but
situation.
my kids, I'm very close with
Yeah.
my children.
I know that.
Yeah, I
I
know
met them
they're
both.
number
Nice
one.
kids. Nice guys. Yeah.
Mob TV. Welcome to the family.
Came out. Did you have the book written already?
No.
Go back to that, so you had to continue on with that.
Well, you know, I happen to be represented by one of the most prestigious entertainment law firms in Hollywood. And when I got out, people wanted me to do a reality show, this and that, coming at me. And I was having dinner at the Four Seasons with my lawyer. I told him all these people, man, he looked at me and he said, I know your story. Write a book and we'll get the movie made. And we're talking about the lawyer that represents Francis Ford Coppola. Okay? And that's just one of his clients. And I said, I never wrote a book. And he said, find a co-writer. Well, all the writers I know out here are script writers. But I was on 4 years of very strict supervised release.
Right.
And I sat there one day and said, how hard could this be? Can I have a beginning, a middle, and an end? And I sat down at the computer and I started going. I was maybe 2/3 away when I found out that a friend that I went to high school with was a writer. And his name is Dennis Griffin.
Okay.
And we hooked up. He wrote all the books in Las Vegas. He wrote the books about Brent Galata. Well-known writer, over 20 books he wrote. And he became my co-author and editor on the first book.
So the thing with Mike Francesi, you have that Sonny's son.
Right.
And he was involved in, as you know, a tremendous earning scam back in New York.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Well, were you on the street when that was happening?
I was on the street when it was happening. I was not involved with it.
No, I'm not saying you were.
No.
I'm hoping to have Mike on the show to talk a little bit about that, because it was ingenious, incredibly lucrative. That's not even the right words to use. It was so much money.
Michael is a very intelligent person.
For sure.
No question about it.
Yeah, he reformed himself, and
He could have gone to school to be a doctor, anything he wanted to. Yeah.
And Sonny, did he want it in life? There was a lot of times the fathers pulled him in, and other times they tried to push him away.
Michael actually wanted to go to school to be a doctor.
Mhm.
But he got involved during when Joe Colombo was doing that,
Italian American?
the Italian American thing, and he sort of got pulled in at that point, and so forth. I didn't know Michael then. I didn't know Sonny then, because I met Sonny when he got out of prison the first time after he did 12 years. The first 12 years on the 50-year bid. So it was after that there, and every time we were with Michael, Sonny was never. I mean, with Sonny, Michael was never around. You know. I mean, I could tell you, life with Sonny was very interesting, and you know, you're not his friends for that long unless you are
Good stand-up guy,
a
without a
good
doubt.
stand-up guy.
Yeah, no, he's one like legendary stand-up guy, without a doubt. And the reason I like to talk a little bit more about that is because he was in and out of jail so much. Maybe that's what brought Michael in. Because I know Michael, like you said, could have been a doctor.
Yeah.
And I think the same with Junior Persico and his son, Alley Boy. Alley Boy was extremely intelligent, college kid, and he winds up a life sentence.
Life sentence.
You know, got out, he had 11 years, got out. Got a problem with the war, had to go in for another 5. Comes out, in and out, in and out. And it's almost like somebody's got to stay there to keep it together, and you let your sons do it.
Right. Apparently Teddy's having that same problem now.
Yes, that's the youngest nephew.
Yeah.
He's been in and out, yeah. So, I don't know, the lights got to go off at some point. Like we said before, it's all changed. It's diluted. You know, the caliber of men aren't the same.
No.
And I mean,
no.
I'm not, you know, I saw it happening myself. So
You've seen it change, and I've seen it change. And I hear from some old timers once in a while from back there, and they're telling me they only want guys just who could earn money. They don't care about nothing else.
Yeah, I don't think they're looking to
You
kill
know,
like
they're
that.
looking for money.
Yeah, I said it got too easy to kill.
Yeah.
And guys would make it to the top and start ordering hits, and they didn't do hits themselves.
No.
You know, they just thought it was an easy thing to do.
And I'm a firm believer you got to lead from the front.
Right. And the publicity got bad. A guy like John Gotti, he was not good for the life, and I hear that from a lot of old timers.
Well, I got to tell you, I met John on a couple of occasions. He was a very personable individual, but, you know, he should not have been out there on the cover of magazines all the time, and that's not what bosses do. Bosses should be unheard of.
Right. Greg made a comment to me once, Greg Scarpa, Sr., that President Bush made him public enemy #1 because he was on the cover of Time magazine more than himself. How could a gangster be on the cover of Time magazine more than the president? So that's a little haywire, to say the least.
One of those things, they do become jealous.
Yeah,
Yeah. And if the government wants you, they're going to get you, Larry.
that's true.
You know?
So, you know, you spanned like a lot of decades. East Coast, West Coast, been in and out of legitimate businesses, successful. I was an insurance broker also.
You were.
And I got into life accidentally too. So we have a lot
So
in
we're
common.
both
And now
accidental
we're both here
gangsters.
we're doing the same things, good things hopefully. What are your regrets?
I have no regrets.
No.
I feel that a regret is a negativity,
It is.
and I can't change the past.
Right.
I can only change the future. I know I've done a lot of bad things, some horrible things in my life. I take full responsibility for the good,
Right.
the bad, and the ugly.
The others.
I don't blame nobody.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, I had plenty of informers. Could I blame the informers? I got to blame myself for talking into a wire. You know, I made a mistake.
I feel the same way. What I do is I say my mistake was allowing myself to get into the life. Nobody forced me.
Nobody
I
forced
should have
me.
known better. My parents didn't bring me up that way. I knew right from wrong, but I got weak.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I went in that direction. So, all right, no regrets. How many people do you know that have had a completely unscathed life going through Cosa Nostra? I mean, that didn't do jail time, didn't have to, it didn't get killed, didn't go broke. Most of them I know, I don't know any
I don't know any.
that it didn't end badly for.
You're hurting somebody, family members, loved ones. You know, it's not the life that people see on TV, that's portrayed on TV or in films.
Right.
You know, I always say one of the worst things that ever happened to La Cosa Nostra was the movie The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
It glorified it too much. A lot of people wanted to be in it. They should not have been in it.
I agree with you. I just did a special with Brian Kilmeade on Fox, and it was about the Godfather 50th anniversary. It turned out to be a good show, and they asked me about that, and I said, I think that is really what also exposed us. Because people knew, but it was a secret. Now they're watching on TV, there's a boss, Marlon Brando. There's a consigliere, Tom Hagen. Who knew about that?
Right.
You know,
Nobody knew.
the old gangster flicks were shoot 'em ups, bank robberies, heists. This one, they had Shylocks, they were moving in on unions, you know, wars between the families. They really, it was
Extortion,
glorified, it was
everything.
dramatized. But I agree with that. And they also had said to me this, why do people gravitate to these books and movies? And my answer was, everybody, and we elaborated on it, I won't get too into it, everybody has a little bad boy in them. I ask you, who's your favorite character in The Godfather? Because it came a point where art imitates life, or is life imitating art, with all these sayings being used. So who's your favorite person in there and why?
Robert De Niro as a young Godfather, when they showing him come up. You know, the scenes of him going up on the roof, how he shot that guy.
Yeah,
And, you know, that was Sonny Franchise too.
really.
Yeah.
Mob TV. Welcome to the family.
You know, actually, I learned a lot of things from Sonny. And one of them was how to evade. Now, Sonny had his own way. I used to meet Sonny when I lived on Little Neck Parkway. And I lived on Little Neck between Northern Boulevard and the LIE.
That's Long Island for
And that's Long Island for those folks that don't know. And there used to be a little shopping center, a little diner in the first restaurant. And me and Sonny would meet there every morning. And Sonny would come in, he'd have his little ritual, take off his coat, put it on the chair, sit down, look at the menu, order something. They go, hey, buddy. His favorite word, hey, buddy. I gotta go to the bathroom, be right back. And me, I think he's in the bathroom. And I'm there, I'm his friend. I think he's in the bathroom. He goes in the bathroom, he goes out the window, goes down to the other end of the shopping center, has a meeting with his guys, comes back, because he knows he's being watched. And it wasn't until one day, I didn't even realize what the frig he was doing until I think the New York Post came out. Sonny Franchise, he was good at that there.
That's like the old time, the Chin, his whole family, when you had to meet any of their guys, just like that. You were going through windows, fire escapes,
Yeah.
basements, always trying to stay a step ahead, but it's impossible. So yeah, so any other Sonny stories? They're good.
You know, one thing that people don't realize, okay, and guys like Sonny, you, myself, you know, we're not stupid guys. Sonny was a very intelligent guy. But I want to tell you about a conversation that I had with him just before he passed away. Now, I wanted to go visit him. And he always said, hey, buddy, you got to come here. We got to talk. I said, Sonny, I'm not going to be the one responsible for you getting violated. And at 102, 103, they're going to violate you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, buddy, you don't want to sneak in here. You know? And I called his probation officer. I said, listen, give her my name. I was 76, 75 at the time. I said, I'm 75. I said, call 75. I said, he's 100 some odd years old. He's in a nursing home. I said, we've been friends for 45 years. I said, how much longer do you think we got? We're not going to go out and rob a bank or kill anybody. I said, I just want to come back, see my friend, take him to lunch or dinner. She said, Mr. Spado, I got checked with the supervisor. She calls me up the next day. She said, Mr. Spado, you were too close of friends with Sonny Franchise. You were indicted together. No, you cannot. You got to wait until June. He'll be off. He would have been off paper the following June before he passed away.
Which would have been last June, right?
Yeah. So obviously I didn't get to see him before he passed away. And but we had a lot of great conversations. We spoke a couple times a week. And one time we got into a political discussion. Because, hey, buddy, it was all in the Bible. I said, Sonny, when the hell did you ever read the Bible? Nah, he said, let me tell you, he says, one time they had me in the hole. He said, I read every book they had there. He says, and the only one left, he says, was the Bible. He says, so I read the Bible, buddy. He said, I got to tell you something. Those guys were smart bastards that wrote that. I just cracked up. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I know you tried to help him a lot too, and the family and the wife.
I mean, it was really funny because I'd be on the East Coast with Sonny. And with Sonny, you don't wait in lines. You don't put your hand in your pocket for a meal. We all lived that way practically. With Jimmy Cassie wanted to pay every bill, and he had no money in his pocket. All right, because Jimmy's nickname was Horse. He put all his money on it, and one time we made a score, made 150 grand each. His was gone in 2 days, all on the horses. But a great guy. Great guy. I love Jimmy. Great cook. Sonny was a great cook.
Whatever happened to Jimmy? I mean, obviously he's gone, right? I mean,
Jimmy, I was talking to Jimmy while I was in Lompoc. And we talked a couple times a month, and I called him one day, and he was driving and he ran in the back of a garbage truck. And he told me he just got out of the hospital. He had a pacemaker that he got while he was in prison. Jimmy did as much time as Sonny did.
Oh, really?
Jimmy did, yeah. And I talked to him, he was mumbling. I said, Jimmy, you gotta call Betty. I want to hang up. I want you to call Betty, because he lived down in Palm Springs. Mm-hmm. I said, you got to call Betty and get back to Eisenhower Hospital. I said, please do that. He said, okay, I hung up. Next day I tried calling, no answer. I said, he's been in the hospital. A few days later I keep calling, and weeks go by. And it just hit me. I knew that he had passed away. And finally, I don't know how I did, I was able to get a hold of his sister in Buffalo, and I got her number, and she told me that Jimmy had passed away.
Is he originally from Buffalo?
Originally from Buffalo.
Okay.
Jimmy's brother was Bobby Milano, All right, and his real name was Charlie Acacci, and he was a great singer. He used to open up for Frank. Frank loved him.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was married to Keely Schmidt. Got a lot of stories on that too.
It was normally, you would think Chicago came out to Vegas and California, but he made it from Buffalo to the underboss of LA.
Yeah, Jimmy was the underboss. And me and him in Vegas so many times, I can't even count them.
You had a very illustrious career.
Yes, I did. I'm sure my parents would have wanted me to take, but I think they're happy with me. I think everything happens for a reason, Larry, and I think for, all the good things that I'm trying to do and try to help others out to make this world a better place. You read my book in the epilogue. I said we all should hold hands and everybody reach out together. And together we can make this world a better place.
Yeah.
But I can't do it by myself. I need your help.
You need help, but I'm going to help you. I want to thank you very much for coming. Before we leave, I want you to show your book.
This is my book, The Accidental Gangster. It's a 2-time best-selling book, and it's being made into a film, being directed by George Gallo. Well, you can Google George Gallo done Bad Boys, Middlemen, 29th Street, several films.
I read it. I'll attest to how good it is. I read it in a couple of days, which is a good sign.
Did you find it to be an easy read?
Easy read, and I loved what you did at the end. I'm not going to let a cat out of the bag or anything. The letters you wrote to your loved ones. I wish I would have done that in my book. Great idea. I want to thank you, Ori, again for coming.
Thank you, Larry. It's my pleasure.
And thank you all for watching.